When the gods, heroes, and monsters of ancient Greece intertwined in the web of myths, the world was full of vibrant and tragic stories. One of the most famous and memorable is the myth of Perseus and Medusa. However, beyond the traditional version, surrounded by glory and heroism, there are many interesting rumors, legends, and even scandals that add extra shades to this story. Perseus, a hero with a lineage. Perseus is one of the most famous heroes in Greek mythology, and his lineage was as impressive as his feats. He was the son of Zeus and Danae, the daughter of King Acrisius. But his story began with a tragic prophecy foretold by an oracle. Your grandson will kill you. Acrisius, despite all his efforts, could not avoid this fate, and he ordered his daughter to be locked in a bronze chamber so that she could not give birth. However, Zeus, known for his wanderings, could not resist, and in the form of golden rain, he entered Danae's chamber. Thus, Perseus was conceived. Acrisius, not understanding that his attempts to cheat fate were doomed to failure, sent Danae and her newborn son in a wooden box into the sea, confident that they would perish. But fate intervened again. The box, washed ashore, was found by the king of the island of Argos, Polydectes, who took care of Perseus and Danae. Thus Perseus grew up among mortals, unaware that one day his destiny would cross paths with the gods. Medusa, the curse and glory. Medusa was one of the three Gorgons, terrifying creatures with snakes for hair and a gaze that turned anyone who looked at them into stone. However, Medusa wasn't always like this. She was once beautiful, so beautiful that her face attracted the attention of Poseidon himself. In Greek mythology, the gods often interfered with the lives of mortals, and this case was no exception. Poseidon fell in love with Medusa, but her beauty aroused the jealousy of Athena, who was enraged at the goddess. To punish Medusa for her beauty, Athena transformed her into a monster whose hair became snakes and her gaze became deadly. Medusa was cursed. She had to live in a remote cave where neither humans nor gods would encounter her. But despite her terrifying appearance, she remained a tragic figure. All her numerous misfortunes arose not from her own fault, but from the harsh vengeance of the gods. In later versions of the myth, there are rumors that Medusa, despite her appearance, became kind and peaceful, hoping to return to her former life. However, her regrets were unknown to both heroes and nations, and Medusa's image remained one of the most horrifying monsters. Perseus and Medusa, the encounter. Perseus, as a young hero, was given a task by King Polydectes to bring the head of Medusa. Of course, the king expected Perseus's death, knowing that the task was almost impossible. However, the goddess Athena and the god Hermes decided to help Perseus by giving him magical gifts. Athena provided him with a shiny shield that reflected Medusa's gaze, while Hermes gave him a pair of winged sandals that allowed Perseus to fly and a sword whose blade could pierce stone. With the help of these gifts, Perseus defeated Medusa. He used the shield as a mirror to avoid looking directly at her face and falling under her deadly gaze. Medusa's death became a moment of triumph for Perseus, but this is where one of the most controversial parts of the myth begins. Scandal and rumors, the head of Medusa. After Perseus cut off Medusa's head, the story didn't end there. The head of the Gorgon had incredible power. Perseus used it as a weapon, turning his enemies to stone. Some myths suggest that at one point, Perseus used Medusa's head to defeat a terrible monster, the sea creature that threatened his wife Andromeda. However, other versions of the myth suggest that Perseus kept the head of Medusa hidden for a long time because its power was too great and dangerous. Some rumors claim that even the gods began to fear how Perseus could use this artifact. It was believed that the head of Medusa could be used not only to battle monsters, but also as a means of political influence. After all, if Perseus wanted, he could turn entire armies to stone and seize any kingdom. Additionally, for many years there were rumors that the head of Medusa was the source of constant conflict between various heroes and gods. It was thought that whoever possessed the head would gain absolute power, and many tried either to steal it from Perseus or form an alliance with him. The end of the story: tragedy and reward. Perseus finally returned to Argos, where he encountered the very prophecy that had been foretold. His meeting with his grandfather Acrisius was fated. Perseus, playing a game of discus, accidentally threw it and struck his grandfather, killing him. This became the tragic conclusion of the entire story. Despite all of Perseus' heroic deeds, fate was unavoidable. However, despite his tragedy, Perseus became a symbol of victory and strength, and his feats became legendary. His story continued to inspire subsequent generations of heroes, and the head of Medusa became a symbol and weapon that inevitably brought both glory and death.